Hey guys, Ronnie here. It is Friday, podcast day, and I am on the set of my latest Green Light Bites video. I'm only joking. I'm in my kitchen, but I'm actually recording a Green Light Bites video right now, and I thought while I'm waiting for it to bake, I would do my Ask For. See, I'm killing two birds with one stone. So that will be why I'm in green today, and I'm sitting in front of my oven, and you might be able to see, I'm making a single serve clementine cake, and hopefully now it will come out because I just shared that all with you. And if I don't have the video, I'll have I do this to myself all the time. Anyway, it is Ask Ronnie Day. I don't think I posted last week because of the holiday, so I am back on my weekly schedule on Fridays, and I'm going to do what I did, or what I have been doing, which is answer a newer question and then kind of dive into the archives from last year. And, alright, I'm just going to get started. Alright, so the first question is from Patricia, and this is a newer question, just from last week. And Patricia says, "Hi Ronnie, I'm a huge fan. I also used to read the old site back in the day," which, for those of you who don't know, I used to be weightwatchin.com before I became Ronnie's Way. And then I thought I wanted to have a new domain name for some reason. So that was at least 4 years ago, Patricia isn't talking about. I'm not sure you have ever answered this question, but how do you, or did you, approach alcohol in your weight loss and maintenance goals? I'm 29 years old, and I probably have 3 to 4 drinks a week, mostly wine. I've gone through periods of not drinking, and I have seen a difference in my weight. I was just curious if social drinking was ever an issue with weight loss. I know, quote, everything in balance is okay, but just wondering what your experience is. Thanks so much for your daily inspiration. Okay. Patricia, I do get my drink on. I'm just kidding. My alcohol consumption has severely decreased as I aged, and I was a kind of your classic big beer drinker in college, which I'm sure did not help the 50 pounds I gained from freshman year through senior year. But it's, for me, as I get older and I have little ones, and now that I'm pregnant, of course, it's not an issue at all, so I don't really even drink, but I'm definitely a very light social drinker, so it really wasn't that big of an issue. While I was losing about 5 years ago, I remember hosting a few parties where I would have a couple light beers, and what I would just do for myself is keep either the super light beers on hand. I'm a huge fan of the Mike's Hard Lemonade Light. Love that stuff. So I would always keep a 6-pack of that in my fridge, and that's, I kind of guess, my wine. I'm not a big wine drinker, so I can't really relate to the wine people. And then I used to, if you've been reading that long, you might have known that I've gone to, like, Atlantic City a few times, and I drink, of course, when I'm in Atlantic City, but then I don't count those weekends at all either. So for me, it really wasn't an issue. I think, you know, if it's a decision you have to make. If you're saying that you're noticing a relationship between weeks that you drink more and the scale results, and you don't like that fact, then you need to decide which is more important for you. I think padding your goal with a few pounds because you want to enjoy a couple glasses of wine with friends on the weekends is fine, and I think that balance in life of okay, sorry about that, technical, or I should say husband difficulty. I could hear him stomping around in the other room, and it was distracting. Anyway, back to the alcohol question. So it's really about balance. So I think if you have the wine and you count its calories, and if you say you're a Weight Watcher drink, I can't remember if you said you're a Weight Watcher person. I don't know if you're a Weight Watcher person, but if you are, I mean, this is what the plan is built for, which is that having those 35 weekly points. If you wanted to spend all your 35 weekly points on alcohol, then so be it. Right? That's the choice you make. But I definitely do think it's possible to be a social drinker and to maintain, you know, the healthy weight that you want to maintain. It's just a matter of, like you said, everything in balance and finding that balance that works for you. But in my experience, which is what you're asking, for me, it's never really been a big issue because I'm not a big wine drinker, and you know, when I would be at parties or throw parties or whatever, I just stick to the light beer, have a couple or 4 or 5, count them, and then move on and not even really notice. It's usually the food at those parties that gets me more than the alcohol. That's just me, but in my opinion. Alcohol's never really been a big thing of mine. I think my drug of choice really is food over alcohol. All right. Second question is from Jamie. And Jamie says, what is your schedule like in the morning when you go running before work? I have a hard time fitting in a run, eating breakfast, packing lunches, showering, and leaving. The gym opens at 5:30, and I need to leave for work at least by 7:45. So I'm getting up at 5 at this point since the gym is only 5 minutes away. Just wondering, with a younger child, how you make it work. I know things will be changing soon with you quitting your job, but just curious how a normal day is for you. Okay, so Jamie asked this in June when I announced that I would be leaving my job. But yeah, I was balancing work and going to the gym. I would go to the gym 2 days a week. I think I was running 3 mornings and going to the gym 2 of those mornings while I was working. The only thing that I have found that works for me with the morning gym, and let me tell you, when I was working full-time, and I kind of miss the fact that working full-time forced me to get my workout in before work, was being completely prepared the night before. And I'm talking down to workout clothes on, sneakers by the bed. And I know some people think this is ridiculous, but when you really are trying to keep up a running habit, and the only time you have to run is in the morning before work, I found that wearing my running clothes, even if it's just the sports bra and the bottoms, to bed was a huge lifesaver, because I can literally roll out of bed. My shoes were right there. I strap on my shoes. I'd grab my iPod off the nightstand, and boom, I'm ready to go. Of course, I brush my teeth, but I'm ready to go. The thought of having to wake up and actually dress myself and then run, it was too overwhelming for me. Isn't that sad? It's so sad. But seriously, so wearing my running clothes, but also because I have a little guy, and at that time, I'm making lunches for him. So his lunch, my lunch would be made and ready to go in bags or lunch boxes or whatever in the fridge. Breakfast would already be thawed out, at least, where I have kind of 3 or 4 go-to breakfasts that I kind of present the toddler or the little guy, whatever I want to call him now. You know, so if it's cereal, that's easy. I might have frozen pancakes already in the freezer that I could just pop out and throw in the microwave. Things like that. So it's really about nighttime preparation. And then so when my alarm would go off at 5, and what I was doing, my gym also opened at 5:30. My alarm would go off just before 5, and I would throw on my shoes, brush my teeth, run out the door, run to the gym, because the gym was, or is, 3 miles away. So it was perfect. I was running 3 miles, and I get a ride back. So I got my run in and got weights in. And so I was killing 2 birds with 1 stone, and I really missed that whole routine that I had going. But really, it's about being prepared at night. Then I would come back and I would shower, hopefully, before the 5-year-old would get out of bed. Sometimes he wouldn't. He'd watch TV and wait for me, whatever. But I would come back, shower, eat breakfast with him, and then kind of do a handoff, because then at that point the husband would handle the rest of the morning and I would go to work. So because I cover wake up and breakfast, and he would cover driving to work or driving to school. That was kind of our deal. It's now since changed, since the toddler's in kindergarten and now the bus picks him up. So I cover all the mornings, but that was the way it worked for us. So Jamie, I say preparation the night before, sleep in running clothes, have everything ready. And it's a struggle. It's kind of like you're not motivated at 10 o'clock the night before to get everything ready. But if you take that extra 5 minutes, it makes all the difference in the morning, and it makes it so much easier. All right, I have to take a pause, not that I didn't chop up this video enough, and take out my cake from the oven. So give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I'll give you a little sneak peek, if I can pick it up. It smells delicious. There it is. All right, after I record with you guys, I'm going to go back and record for Green Light Bites and do the result of the cake. Anyway, next question. I'll let that cool a little bit. I knew the timing was going to be off, but I dealt with it anyway. I figured I'd do it anyway. All right, next question is from Nicole. And Nicole says, hey, Roni. I'm getting out of breath now that I'm pregnant. Hey, Roni. Long story short, I lost about 85 pounds about 4 years ago and have maintained it ever since. However, I tend to struggle with the same 6 to 8 pounds month after month. Up 6, down 6, up 2, down 2. I am a horrible daily weigher, and these fluctuations really affect me. I am consistent with my diet during the week, but have this nasty habit of taking the weekends off. Even though I have tried to journal through the weekends, I still feel compelled to allow myself those cheats on the weekends, and then Monday morning I'm back up in pounds, frustrated, starting over again. I mean, seriously, I can gain 6 pounds over a weekend. Any insight on the weekends off philosophy? All right, Nicole, I absolutely love your question because you have described my cycle to the T. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Of course, now I'm pregnant, so it's kind of hard to talk about me now, but me 9 months ago, I was in the same exact shoes that you are in. And I don't think your problem is that 6 to 8 pounds. Because A, it's very hard to gain 6 pounds in 2 days. It really is. How many calories are in a pound? Like 3,500? You'd have to be taking in an extra 15,000 calories. Or whatever. That's like my Roni math off the top of my head. But you get the point. I mean, you really need to be consuming. So the first thing you have to think about is that the fact that you are actually not gaining 6 pounds of fat over the weekend. Now, your diet wasn't as stellar over the weekend, so I'm sure you consumed a lot more greasy, salty, sodium-filled foods that help you retain water. You probably have lots of crap in your gut that didn't come out yet. So yeah, your body is going to show a higher weight, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are at a higher weight. In my opinion, and again, I'm not a professional, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not whatever. In my opinion, if you are able to maintain your 4 years you've been maintaining an 85-pound weight loss. That is phenomenal. Pat yourself on the back. You have found the balance that's working for you, and that is totally awesome. Look, I'm going to get teary. It's totally awesome. If you're going to go through life and have to be perfect all the time, it's no fun. What's the point, right? So you have found your balance. Your balance is you're fairly strict during the week. Your diet's in check. You eat really clean. You feel really good about yourself, and you let yourself go a little bit on the weekends and have a little fun. And then you don't have that kind of snowball and roll into your next week, which that's the biggest problem most people have, is that Monday morning they'll get on the scale and they'll see the 6-pound jump and they'll give up and they'll get frustrated and they'll binge that night and that cycle. You're out of that. That's great. Embrace it. Embrace it. So, I mean, if you really want to lose that last 6 to 8 pounds, I would say, I mean, you're not even saying you're wanting to lose anymore. You're just saying you're up it, down it, up and down it. I mean, when I had the best ever Weight Watchers leader when I lost my weight, and she described maintenance to me that it should look like this. That was exactly what she said. She goes, your maintenance, if you track your weight, your maintenance weight should go up and down. If you give yourself a 6-pound give, like up and down 6 pounds, that's amazing. It's way better than what my 40-pound was, 5 years ago, where I would lose 40 pounds, gain 40 pounds, lose 40 pounds, gain 60 pounds, you know what I mean? So give yourself a pat on the back and really recognize that you are living a really great, balanced life. And if that scale, like now if you're still weighing yourself daily after 4 years, that's where I would maybe try to step back from the scale a little bit. Like I was a daily weigher, so I totally understand the concept of daily weighing, and I'm not going to get down on you for that, but there has to be a point where you separate yourself from that a little bit. And maybe it's force yourself not to weigh yourself Monday or Tuesday. That's it. And after a while, I'm telling you, after a week or two, you'll start to get used to it. And then you might even find yourself weighing yourself less and less and less. So try to step away from the scale, pat yourself in the back, and recognize that you are finding the balance that you need to maintain. And I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, a healthy lifestyle. Because I really think a healthy lifestyle is more than just keeping the weight down on the scale, which you've been doing great. But it's also, there's a mental aspect to it where you don't feel deprived and you don't feel like this is work, and there's no guilt trips involved, and you're not beating yourself up because you wanted to go out on a Friday and have a couple slices of pizza and a beer with your friends. Like, that's part of the healthy lifestyle. That's part of balancing all that. So I think that, Nicole, you are doing awesome. And now you wrote this last June, so I'm curious how you're doing now. But pat yourself on the back. I think you're doing great. Okay, next question. I think I'm on 4. I don't know because pregnancy brain. All right, next question is from Robin. Robin says, as a family, we have been trying to make better choices and eat healthier. My problem is that we live on a very tight budget. A lot of the times we determine which a lot of times will determine how we eat. Do you have any tips for eating healthy cheaply? Thanks. Okay, Robin. I do think that sometimes there are misconceptions with eating healthy and finances. If you're going to go out and purchase like every name brand, organic, healthy food that's prepackaged and, put with a little pink bow and given to you at the grocery store, yeah, it's really expensive. But actually, if you get to the core of what it is that you're supposed to be eating, I think it's actually less expensive. I mean, really, think about the stuff that you could be, first of all, I'll kind of roll this into some tips. So some tips is A, buy in bulk. Buy when things are on sale and buy lots of it and have enough room in your freezer to be able to fit it. So when, boneless God, I can't talk. When boneless, skinless chicken breasts go on sale for some obscene low price, buy as much as you can. Portion it out, put it in your freezer. That's my number one tip, right? So take advantage of what's on sale when it's on sale. Don't just buy one because it's on sale and, just take advantage. Buy things that are in season. They're way, way cheaper. And if I don't know where you live, but if you're in a seasonal place, like I'm here in Maryland, our farmers markets kind of close up in the fall and then reopen in the spring. Do the farmers market circuit. Produce is way cheaper at farmers markets. But even what's in season in the grocery store is even cheaper. So keep an eye out of what's currently in season. And, if you're trying to buy tomatoes in the middle of winter, they're going to be way more expensive than if you're buying tomatoes in the middle of the summer. So keep an eye and learn what's in season in your area and take advantage of that. But there's also things like, there's a saying. This just popped in my head. There's a saying, I'm come from a background of multimedia programming, and there's a saying in my industry, it's probably in a lot of industries, but good, fast, cheap, pick two, right? You can only be good, it could be fast, or it could be cheap, but it can't be all three, right? So if you think about fast food, right? It's cheap and it tastes good. Or I mean, it's cheap and how do I want to say this? It's cheap and it's fast, but it's not that good. And when I say good, I'm meaning it might taste good to some people, but it's not really good for you, right? So you got the 2 out of 3. Whereas a home-cooked meal, it's good, and it could be cheap, but it's not necessarily fast. So now you got to spend something, and if you're trying to save money, that means you got to spend time, which sometimes some of us don't have, which is why we go for the fast, cheap option instead of the slow, good option. No, how do I say that? Instead of the slow, good, cheap option. I'm totally murdering this, but some of you, I know, there's a small percent of you that totally get what I'm trying to say. All right, so for example, bags of beans. They may be the most affordable, inexpensive protein source in your grocery store. Now, you could buy cans and make your life easier and produce a meal faster, but they're more expensive. Instead, buy a bag of beans, do a little bit of planning, soak them overnight, and you got a nice, great, cheap protein source for your family. So what I'm saying is you got to kind of decide what's more important to you. And it's in a decision, and we live in a world where you can't have it all, right? So you're gonna have to either change the way you're doing things, or you're gonna have to compromise what you put in your family's body. So I would say, again, look for in-season stuff, buy bulk of things that are really on sale, start looking at things that may take a little bit more time to prepare at home, but in the long run are cheaper and actually better for your family. And like I said, beans are a really, really good example of this. Those are my tips. I feel really out of breath answering these questions this long. By the way, tomorrow I'm 27 weeks. I'm getting really, really excited. Anyway, I'm going to move on, Robin, but I hope that gives you some tips. And just know it's not impossible. I mean, I think sometimes we fall into this rut where we think eating healthier needs to be more expensive. And really, in a sad way, that's kind of how our culture is. Like, what's the deal with going to a restaurant and saying, you know what, instead of fries, can I have steamed vegetables or can I have a side salad? And then wanting to charge me more for that. Like, I'm like, well, oh, it just makes me so angry. So, like, for me, I have to spend an extra $1 because I want to be a little bit more health conscious. It drives me nuts. I'm not going to get on a soapbox. No, okay. Next question. I think it's the last one I have, too. I will verify that. I don't even know how much time I have because I'm all messed up in time-wise. Okay, next question is from Kim. And Kim says, Ronnie, you've probably answered this before, and I'm sorry if you have, but I really need to know. How would you motivate yourself to start dieting and exercising if you're feeling really crappy about yourself? For many reasons, both personally and otherwise, my self-esteem is in the gutter. For me, Weight Watchers makes the most sense, and walking and biking are my favorite exercises. But I just can't seem to do it, even though I so need to. How do you get past it? I know Ryan was your motivation. My kids are older, 19 and 15, and they have pretty much known me this way, which is overweight, for a very long time. I just don't know where to find the motivation. Thanks, Ronnie Kim. Oh, Kim. I hate these questions because I can't really find the motivation for you. So here's what I would say. I wish I could. I wish I can, like, bottle a motivation pill and give it out to people. But here it is. So yes, so Kim's bringing up, I've talked a lot on the site about how the birth of my first son was a huge shift in my mentality and motivation, and just, it really gave me the kick in the pants, basically, to get over the cycles that I was in. But that doesn't happen for everyone, and not everyone's in the same situation as me. So on the site, I do try to share my personal experience, but at the same time, I can kind of see what it was about that experience that gave me that shot of motivation. And I have an older post that I read. It's from a doctor, and I will find it and dig it up and link to it under this thing. But it talks about core hurt feelings and a lot of the emotional side of, for some of us, the reason why we're overweight or the reason why we struggle with food. And I think really you got to do some soul searching and find what it is for you. Like for me, I really think there was a big connection between my dad and then having a child of my own kind of let me close that chapter of my life. So yeah, like I think easily I say, oh, I was inspired by my son and it was this great epiphany and now it all makes sense to me now. But I think it actually is a lot more complicated than that. Like I really think there's a lot more layers going on than just I was inspired by my son. And I think you need to kind of peel away your own layers and find what it is that will work for you. Not work for you, but I don't know, that makes sense for you. All of that being said, I think there's a few practical things that you can do that really will help you get the ball rolling. Because sometimes you have to put the cart before the horse. Sometimes I have expressions in my brain and I don't know if they mean what I mean, if they mean what I think they mean. But sometimes you have to take the steps first before the motivation is there, instead of waiting for the motivation to take the steps. Do you know what I'm saying? So for you, I would say it's baby steps. You got to find one thing. Okay? Now, for me, even though I'm saying, for me the motivation was having Ryan, and in 2 weeks I walked into Weight Watchers. When he was 2 weeks, I walked into Weight Watchers and I started that. And I decided right then that was my one thing. Do you know what I mean? So that no matter what, my one thing was I was going to go to Weight Watchers every week and I was going to come back and blog. That's how all of this got started. That's craziness. But I committed to going to Weight Watchers once a week and then coming home and writing about my weigh-in. That was it. That was the only thing I committed to do. And I kind of relieved myself of all the pressure of I want to lose 70 pounds and I want to look great for the summer and I want to fit into a size 6 and I want to, I stopped those things from floating around in my head and I just made that one small commitment. And I kept that commitment, and then by keeping it, my confidence started to get built. It's kind of funny like that. I really do think confidence is built. So by keeping it, and after a few weeks, I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. I've committed to this. Let me add on something else now. So for you, Kim, like maybe your thing is like you're bringing up that you like to bike. Isn't that what you said? My reading retention is going down the tube. yeah, you said walking and biking. So maybe commit to walking a 10-minute walk every day. And maybe that might even be too much. A 10-minute walk every other day. Commit to something small like that and embrace it. Make it part of your routine. Make it part of who you are. Identify with it. This is what I do. I walk every day after dinner. After a few weeks, that becomes something that you just do, and now you can add something else on. Now it's, you know what? I'm going to eat a healthy breakfast every day before work. I'm going to have a piece of fruit every day after, whatever it is, right? I'm just kind of making things up. But don't look for the motivation to make that first commitment. Make the first commitment and then get the push over that first domino. And maybe it'll catch. Do you know what I'm saying? I hope that helps a little bit. But seriously, find something little that you can embrace now that just gets the ball rolling, and then start to add to it. And I think the motivation will follow once you see that you can be successful and that you are benefiting from those small changes. That's what I want to say, I think. All right, I need to go because I now need to finish up the Green Light Bites video where I talk about this. And hopefully it came out. I think it did. It smells good. I will be back next week with another podcast and Monday with my pregnancy update. I may be moving everything to YouTube too, just a side note. I think I was approved finally after 4 years of being able to put videos longer than 10 minutes. So we'll see. I don't know if I want to open myself up to the YouTube community because some of the people there are pretty harsh. But we'll see. All right. I got to go, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.